Hey, welcome to the Women in Manufacturing Podcast. My name is Fran Brunel. I'm the founder and president of Accelerated Manufacturing Brokers, Inc., a company that specializes in mergers and acquisitions in the lower middle market, and we work nationally. And I'm your host for today's show. So today we are welcoming to the show Whitney Koch. Whitney is a marketing and communications specialist, at Welker, Inc., which is a family-owned manufacturing company in Sugarland, Texas. They specialize in sampling equipment and systems for the oil and gas industry. Whitney is a Penn State graduate, and she taught German for 4 years before beginning her journey in manufacturing. And she started very interesting as a technical writer before she moved over into the marketing side of the business. So Whitney, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So introduce our listening audience to Welker. Tell us what you do, who your target audience is, and so forth.
Okay, so as you mentioned, Welker is a family-owned company. We were started in 1954 by our founder, Bob Welker, who passed away 2 years ago. He had been working for a natural gas company and developed a regulator, a pressure regulator, and that is really sort of what launched our company. He was running it out of his garage for a time before building it into the company that it is today. And now we're on the third generation of Welkers. The grandson, Josh Welker, is our company president. Our CEO is Fran Welker, Bob's son. And we are a manufacturing company primarily focused on the oil and gas industry, but really eager to offer contract manufacturing services as well.
Fabulous. So you started out, how did you jump from teaching German into writing technical copy for a manufacturing company? How did that happen?
Yeah, it seems like a really kind of bizarre leap, doesn't it? I was teaching at a local high school. I was in my 4th year and just realized that it wasn't my lifelong career and was looking at some opportunities that would really sort of make sense with having that teaching background. And I got connected with a local job search ministry, and the leader of that was really well connected with Welker, really familiar with the company. There was an opening for a technical writer at Welker at the time. I had never even heard of technical writing, did not really know that was a thing. And learned about that, learned about the company, was able to be mentored by some other people in that group, and saw there was a lot of overlap between technical writing and then what I did as the teacher. So I was just using those skills, but in a different way. And I'm very happy to be hired on and work on our installation, operation, and maintenance manuals for about 5.5 years.
Wow, that's fabulous. I don't think people realize how many different careers there are within the manufacturing sector that someone like you could choose from. So good for you.
Yes.
That's fabulous.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about making the transition more into marketing. You know, it's funny, you always hear the salespeople who want the really kick-ass books about their products, the technical writing and so forth, but they're always somehow disconnected from the marketing side of the equation. You're interesting because you have both aspects. Talk about what that transition was like.
Yeah, well, I do think that having that experience of really getting to know like literally the insides of our products by doing those manuals made a big difference when I transitioned over into the marketing department. I had worked with our marketing team previously as a technical writer, helping develop some standards, some writing standards for our internal and external communications. And just as departments changed, personnel change, there was space over in the marketing department. And I felt that I had really done all that I could do with the manual writing, and was looking for some new opportunities, looking to do something a little bit more creative. And having that knowledge of our products really did help. Initially, I started by writing content for our website to help build out some web pages and, really just show the breadth of what we offer. And that was something that, we didn't really have before. So having that product knowledge really made it a whole lot easier. My father is a retired petroleum engineer. And so, I got to lean on his knowledge a little bit as well, just to understand the oil and gas industry better too. And like those two things together made a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as you're doing marketing for this, lower middle market manufacturing company, are you also, in addition to writing for the website, are you also creating content for social media?
Yes. So in 2020, right, the world changed for everybody. We weren't able to go to trade shows or industry schools like we normally do, and like many other companies and manufacturers did. So I sort of stuck my hand up and said, hey, can I take over our social media channels? We had a company LinkedIn page, we had our Facebook page, a Twitter account, and we did have an Instagram account, but there were no posts or anything on it. And so, without being able to have in-person events, that was sort of, an opportunity that we had to keep our name out there and share more about us. And I did start out creating a lot of content for a time. We had a graphic designer, and she did awesome work for us. And so now I'm back to creating some of the visual imagery as well. But it's been really exciting. It's a lot of fun.
What are you using to create the visual imagery? Just curious.
We use Canva.
Okay, I was going to recommend that, yes, because our
Canva
social media, the head of social media uses that as well.
Canva is really a great deal. You can do a lot with the free account. We did opt for the pro, and before our graphic designer left, she set us up with some templates, and we've got like our brand colors and things set up in there. It's awesome. It's really
fabulous. Yeah. So you were with the company when they were still doing trade shows, and then COVID hit.
Yes.
In your opinion, can a small manufacturer accomplish just as much through social media and brand awareness efforts as they do through a trade show?
Yeah, I would say that you could accomplish even more, really. Trade shows, industry schools are 1, 2, 3 days typically, right? Whereas your website, your social media presence, that's there 24/7, 365. So I think, for manufacturers to think about their web presence, so their website and social media as like a virtual trade show booth, that kind of changes your perspective a little bit on it. How do you want to showcase the company? People can come and go as they please and see what's there. And when you're at a physical trade show and you walk by and the booth is empty, that doesn't say anything good, right? So having, what you want to display about your company there on your website and your social media channels, that just is working for you all the time. And you can reuse a lot of the content too. Whereas trade shows, it gets a little stale, I think, always having the same setup year after year, but that's a really huge expense to change that up.
Well, that's the thing that strikes me, is the difference in the cost of having a robust social media presence versus doing trade shows. I love it. What did you call it? A virtual trade show booth? That's great. I've never heard anyone say that before.
Yes.
That's fabulous.
I can't take credit for it. My friend Polly Rose has said that, but I just want to latch onto that idea because it's so true. It says a lot about your company. Even if people aren't really social media users themselves, if they go onto your website and click on your social icons and see, oh, they haven't posted anything since 2015, that doesn't say a lot of good things about your company,
Right.
to have an inactive presence.
Why do you think it is important for manufacturers, small family-owned manufacturers, to participate in social media? And what would you say to those who say it really would not make a difference? What would you say to them?
Well, I think I would say, firstly, that buyers are doing so much research online now. Before they even talk to a salesperson, reach out to a salesperson, they're doing their research. And so if you don't have the content online, as a website or, a social media account where they can go on and research who you are as a company and research your products, you're kind of setting yourself at a disadvantage right there anymore. Just because the number is something really crazy, like 80-something% people are doing their research online before reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I would just say, kind of what we touched on before is the cost efficiency, right? It's, you can set up a social media account for free. You don't even need special equipment. You can just use your cell phone for pictures, for videos. You don't have to do paid advertising. You don't need to get really fancy equipment, at the start, unless that's something that you want to do. It's really great to have, like a paid scheduling tool if you're really going to go hard at it and be consistent, but you don't need that to get started.
What are you using for a scheduling tool?
We use Hootsuite right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It's great to be able to, have a content plan for the month and to get things scheduled ahead of time. For whoever is in charge of social, it's nice to know, like, okay, I've got content planned on the weekend. I don't need to hop on and, post anything, although I could switch over and respond to comments and engage with some other accounts if I want to. Same thing for holidays, you can kind of take a break, making sure that content is scheduled out. It's nice to have. And there are free scheduling tools out there as well, depending on which platforms you're on.
Sure. Yeah. We, oh gosh, years ago, we were using Hootsuite. We then moved to Buffer. And today it's done through our CRM and ERP system.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah, but I am a huge believer in being able to schedule things out so that you're not having these gaps in your content on social media.
Right. Yeah. Consistency is huge. If someone is looking to start on social media and kind of test it out, I would start small, and then whatever you decide to do, I just make sure you're doing it consistently. Like, what can you realistically do on a consistent basis? If it's once a month, that's better than nothing, right? As long as you're doing it consistently, and then your followers will get to know what your cadence is, and they'll come to expect that content from you.
Mm-hmm. At what point how many years has your company had a designated marketing / social media person?
Just 2 years since I started on it, over in 2020 when COVID was, really knocking everything out. We didn't really have anyone doing it on a dedicated basis. Before then, we would put up, holiday postings and things like that, but there was no other strategy or consistent planning behind it before.
How did you get buy-in from your boss to let you do this, to move from technical writing to marketing / social media?
Yeah, well, to move, I think it really helped that I already had a working relationship with our marketing department. At the time, it was just one person, Katrina Cattrall, who's our marketing manager now, my manager. And, as I'm sure other manufacturers can attest, a one-person marketing team is really overwhelmed. right? There's so much to do, even if you're not on social media, maintaining your website, doing literature. I mean, it's a heavy workload, right? So I think when I was making that change sort of in 2019, there was that recognition internally that, hey, we need some more bodies in marketing, right? We need help. And if you can do that internally and, maintain that knowledge, right? Whoever is moving over, maintain the knowledge of the company, the industry, the products. I think that's really just to your benefit, to the company's benefit, instead of trying to hire someone external, and then get them onboarded, but then also, there might be some knowledge gaps there, right?
Yeah, I think it's always better to have someone internal that truly understands what the company does. How important is it, do you think, to have, marketing and social media be part of the company culture as opposed to just the few people that's their job description?
Yeah, I mean, there are some accounts that I follow that, I really enjoy following them because you see lots of people from the company there on their social feed, right? They participate in videos, they do, pictures, and it's not just, staged company events. They're, active participants, and they're happy while they're doing it. And as a social media consumer, I think that just gives you a real different sense for the company itself, the company culture. It makes it more engaging, I think, as the viewer. And so if you are working in a manufacturing company and you have that kind of buy-in where people are, really on board and willing to participate, I think it just makes it more fun, more enjoyable on both sides, right? Whether you're making it or if you're the person consuming it. And, I think manufacturers kind of maybe disregard or don't think about social media as also serving a purpose for hiring, right? People who are seeking jobs, they're checking out your company, they're going to your website, checking out your social media. It's a great way for job seekers, I think, to get sort of a peek behind the curtain, right? And see, is this a kind of place that I would like to work? And, so if you have a really strong company culture, being on social media and involving more people in your company on your channels, I think is really just to your benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you also think that with the number of employees participating, that it helps to drive organic placement on Google and so forth?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of talk about personal branding, especially when you talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn personal profiles get so much more organic reach than company profiles. And so if you have a strong social media presence as a company and you encourage your employees to develop their own personal branding and grow their own network, then that's just spreading your company as well. Maybe not exactly to your buyer, your intended audience, but that's sort of what networking is, right? It's not the person I know, it's the person that person knows. Right. So you're just expanding your reach, and then that in turn can grow your company page as well, and your other social channels, just getting the word out about your company. People like to follow people, right? And people like to buy from people. So, encouraging your employees to have their own kind of personal brand and, be out there.
Yeah, relationships still matter. They've, the how we do relationship has changed somewhat, but relationship still matters, and it always will. Yes. And a good marketer is going to understand that.
Yeah, I agree. And I do feel like, kind of going back to that trade show comparison that we made earlier, that, thinking about LinkedIn, that's kind of like the networking that goes on at a trade show too. You're just doing it on the computer, you're doing it virtually instead of in person. It's a similar kind of thing.
Yeah. So has for those old time manufacturers out there who are still skeptical, the
Mhm.
question I would ask you is, has your company seen visitors to the website or business result from your efforts on social?
Yeah, that's a really great question. That's something that we are working on as far as the attribution. Earlier this year, we added on our RFQ button on form on our website, the option for visitors to say how they heard about us. If your company has a CRM, you'll be able to track that type of thing. If you use Google Analytics, you can go back and see referral traffic from social media. So we've definitely had a big increase from our social media. Whether that has turned into a purchase 100%, I can't speak to that. But we do have a member of our business development team. He's working on building his own brand on LinkedIn, kind of towards that end, right? Like seeing for himself, being here, being present, sharing informative content from my own personal profile, that makes an impact. And he's had some success with that, making connections and companies that we've been targeting that we hadn't had luck with before. So it's a long game, right? I'll say that.
Yes, it is.
You're not going to create your account, put up your first post and make $1 million sale the next day. It's an investment. It's a long-term thing, just like a regular trade show, right? I mean, sometimes you might get a purchase from a trade show, but not always, right after. You're building those relationships and it takes time.
Yeah, that's so true. So one more question before I let you go. I talk to manufacturers all over the country who kind of say, hey, I'm a manufacturer, what I do is boring, and I would have absolutely nothing to say on social media. Can you give one or two ideas to our listening audience about the types of things that you can share or a manufacturer should be sharing on social media?
Yeah, just thinking about TikTok, I know the manufacturing hashtag has had, like 1 billion views or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, manufacturing on TikTok is really big. And I kind of think personally that it just has to do with the fact that, so many of us are really removed from manufacturing, right? The manufacturing of our products, how things are made. And it's kind of fascinating, really, just to see the elaborate machinery that's in plants and how our everyday products are assembled, how they start out. I really like to watch machining videos. It's so interesting just to see, how a CNC can cut apart, look at all the chips flying. It's pretty cool. So you don't really have to have a high quality produced video of your company or the company president telling you can just show your machines in action, your people in action, and just tell that story of manufacturing and what it's like, that there are people behind the products, that it's a safe industry, a clean industry, a great industry to work for, to support, especially, with the push for reshoring and trying to build up the manufacturing industry. I think it would really just benefit, individual companies and then the industry as a whole to show, manufacturing is really so much more than we think it is.
The recruiting aspect of this is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that old time manufacturers realize, everyone's struggling with the skills gap. I sold a company out in the Midwest recently, and they had made the addition of robotics to their machine tool lineup, and they had a few robotic cells. They said it was the best recruiting tool that they ever had.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, people want to be a part of really cutting edge things, and there's a lot of cutting edge stuff happening in manufacturing, and it's a really, I think, kind of on the verge of a boom, and I think just to be a part of it and see how it's growing and what the future for innovation is as well. It's huge.
Yeah. So, hey, we are starting to run out of time. Before I let you go, I want you to tell our listening audience how to reach out if they want to learn more about Welker Inc.
Oh, yeah. To learn more about Welker, please go to our website. We're at welker.com. It's WELKER.com. And we are on Twitter at Welker Inc. You can find our company on LinkedIn, Facebook, and also Instagram, Welker Inc.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing some tips. I was very excited to interview you, someone that's in-house at a manufacturing company, doing what every manufacturer should have somebody doing. So fabulous. Appreciate your tips. And hey, listen, if you're a woman in manufacturing or in an industry that is servicing the manufacturing sectors and you'd like to be on the show, please reach out to me, Frances Brunel on LinkedIn, or just call my office, 908-387-1000. I would also like to encourage our listeners to visit WAMPodcast.com, where you can view all of our shows and other shows brought to you by the Jacket Media Company. Whitney, thank you so much, and best wishes for continued success.
Thank you so much.